Hey guys, how we doing? Back under the from Nux Taku, and I'm excited for this. There were videos throughout the year that Nux put up that I just missed because I didn't have time to do them, and what I'm doing now is I'm going back and checking them out now, and this is one that I've wanted to check out for ages, and I've just gone, come on, bam, got time, let's film it. What's the best opening shounen arc? This going would be good because Nux loves his shounen. Naruto's opening arc was freaking cool, with Zabuza, amazing. JoJo's first freaking story arc, I loved it because it's just like, what is this? And it just completely opens you to like how bizarre JoJo's can be, even though it's get weirder, but like it establishes, you know what kind of ride you're in for. I'm not just gonna list them all. Like, let's just get into this and see what Nux has to say, shall we?
Like any good clickbait, the first arc of any anime needs to be enticing. It needs to be succulent in breasts in the thumbnail, but also more elegant, because breasts in the thumbnail are like overused and it's almost cringy.
Yeah, I know, right?
Cool, very cool. I often find myself contemplating what's more important, the first arc of an anime or the final arc of an anime. I've come to the conclusion that if it's a series I really like, in hindsight, it's the final arc. But in order to get into the story, no matter how good the ending is, it's not going to convince you to continue. Whereas the first arc is the arc that will remain ingrained in the mind of everyone watching the series the whole way through. If that first arc is founded correctly, it gives a foundation to everything else, and in it itself is fantastic as well. Today on my quest for the best, which may end up a series if you like this one. I mean, I had a lot of fun writing it. Like, I'm down to do best anime fights, best endings, best boobs, which is a valid reason to put boobs on the thumbnail, and I will do so with dignity and honor. In any case, today I asked the question, what's the best opening arc in shonen anime? I believe you will find that every single opening arc, in part at least, is there to introduce the world and characters. Yes. I mean, this is not firing shots at anything. That's kind of what it's supposed to be doing. But I find that certain opening arcs focus so much on the let's introduce characters in the setting, they kind of lose arc structure. So, as far as anime that focus, in my mind, slightly too heavily on that point without making the overall arc intriguing, I'd say it's an unfortunate fate that befalls almost every single sports anime. Okay, these are going to be the team or whatever that's going to try to make nationals. And look, they have dreams and stuff with crazy great aspirations. Yes. And the setting is basically volleyball or basketball, whatever I suppose. I don't know, the only thing that had ball in it that I was into in high school was Dragon Ball. So sports barking off the wrong tree here, even though Haikyuu's one of the greatest anime ever. But that aside, as far as the first arc of sports anime go, I'm generally underwhelmed by the greatness that is to follow. The only exception to this is Kuroko no Basket, which sucked me in immediately from just the first 2 episodes alone. But that said, it didn't really do anything that spectacular, aside from make me feel way more exhilarated for basketball than I felt like for any sport.
That's cool, they can do that.
Now, as far as the general introduction arcs, Black Clover, which is an anime that I praise a hell of a lot, especially the current manga arc, which is a genuinely top-tier manga arc. The beginning was generic shisa. Here, let's introduce Asta as the loudmouth boy, and as boy, badass boy.
There we go.
You need to shut the fuck up. Now, he's gonna be the Wizard King, even though he has no powers, because he works hard and does push-ups. The arc in itself had absolutely nothing going for it, aside from the bare-bones character introduction.
It was literally that, wasn't it?
Black Clover is a particularly large offender of this. I would say One Piece and Bleach are as well. 2 more anime I actually really like, but their opening arcs did not suck me in. For Bleach,
Bleach, it was like the second or third part,
second arc. And for One Piece, I didn't really get into it until the Baratie and Arlong arcs. I would say, on a slightly smaller scale, My Hero Academia does the same thing, except I would personally say better. Even though I way prefer One Piece to My Hero Academia and all, I would say that Deku's mini-character arc in the opening arc of Hero Aka hit a lot harder than any of the characters introduced to One Piece until the Baratie and Arlong arcs. That said, while I did kind of feel for Deku, that's all I got from the actual arc.
Like there was no, what's the world, what's the heroes?
the fascinating psychology of the various characters, the ideology pushing their
Different
actions,
ideologies of
as
what
well
a
as
hero
the
is and
society
stuff like
they're
that,
inhabiting.
and blah,
I
blah,
didn't
blah.
get any of that from the first arc.
No.
It was just this super manly figure that picked out Deku to be a hero because he was smart enough to run into a pile of cum that was
Ugh.
his friend. Because, hentai's been getting more popular. Yeah, not exactly who I would choose as the headstrong leader of the generation of heroes, but not the point. I feel like all the arc did was barely introduce Bakugo, solidly introduce Deku, and basically tell us, yeah, quirks are a thing. But that was it.
Everyone
that I
has
got
powers.
from the opening arc of My Hero Academia. As far as anime like Seven Deadly Sins
Sins.
go, in retrospect, I love the first arc of the Seven
Yeah.
Deadly Sins because I kind of understand what the series has been going for. The whole first season is focused on these happy-go-lucky, rambunctious knights having a great time partying while saving the kingdom and stuff. But
And
you
being
eventually
hunted down
learn
at the same
that
time.
every single one of these characters
got a bit
is
of a
a
backstory.
tortured soul,
Yeah.
and they put up
They've got a lot
facades
going
to
on.
help themselves cope. That's what Ban was doing. That's what Meliodas was doing. That's what the general cast was going for. So the story structure being that the first arc was happy-go-lucky, just like the facade that these characters were putting up, when in actuality there was a deep, darker evil that only emerged in the second season, just like all these characters' tragic psychologies emerged in the second season. So what I'm trying to say is, in hindsight, I love the structure of the series, but heading
it
down
represents
the
the
path
characters
in a
as well as
chronological
the
order,
story.
not gonna lie, I was not a fan of the lighthearted, tacky humor. I thought both Elizabeth and Hawk were plagues to the screen, at least at first. So
I
even
love
though I kind of
Hawk.
like both of those characters at
My
this
girlfriend
point,
fell off
introducing
Seven Deadly
the series
Sins.
to
She
me,
did
the first
not
arc
like it
didn't
at all.
scream, "You're gonna love this anime because of the fascinating psychology of the characters." It was this ridiculously stupid-looking, blonde-haired midget guy that overpowered everyone he fought instantaneously with
With
this
a
smug
talking
smile on his
pig.
face, never really getting happy or upset about anything, while this stupid-ass princess is following him around, and there's a pig that's talking that seems to
I suppose
be
when you
doing
describe it like
absolutely
that,
nothing
it's
besides bad
it does sound
commentary.
kind of poop.
It was fun, and it's not like I didn't enjoy it on my first watching, but it definitely didn't make me think that it was going to be a household favorite, as
Yes.
it were. And the last two anime I would like to talk about in this basic category of introducing the world and setting without actually going for a vast plot within the arc itself, Attack on Titan does a wonderful job in this respect.
Yes, it
I
does.
think the first two
Oh my
episodes of Attack
God.
on Titan are like legit classic first two episodes of anime.
My God, yeah,
Opening
Attack
up
on
with the
Titan really
backstory
does
of
set
Eren
everything
and
up
the
for you, doesn't it?
fall of the third wall. I thought that was all really dope, but I kind of felt like that was backstory as opposed to an actual opening arc, whereas the opening arc in the main story is taking place where Eren, Armin, and Mikasa join the military.
The training,
and that arc was basically saying, yeah, it's not easy to kill Titans because they're freaking big,
They're huge
badass
things that
bozos,
eat us.
and they look like naked Teletubbies. So here are a bunch of characters. Warning,
Fear
half of them
them.
may die. So even though the first two episodes of Attack on Titan I thought were flawlessly executed, as far as the overall first arc goes, I definitely do not think that way. But the manga continues the way it is. Damn! It'll be making a lot more headway in the greatest anime ending list than
I can't wait to see the final season next year. Oh my
Ultimate
God.
modern classic being written in front of
Oh
our eyes.
my
And the
God.
final basic one is
Oh.
Dr. Stone. I did pick up that manga due to the recommendations of the fan base. And while I am enjoying it, the first arc almost made me drop it several times. Not gonna lie. Yes, they introduced an interesting world and they barely introduced certain characters where each of them
Gonna
seemed
say,
to
not
have,
read the
like,
manga, so
their
I can't
own
really-
specific quirks
I don't know
that
how
made
far
them
into the
cool,
anime
like,
this
I'm
goes.
the smart guy and I'm gonna say science stuff about random stuff so you remember that I'm the smart guy. Then there's the other guy who constantly reminds you that he's an idiot.
yeah.
Why? Does he need to say, I'm stupid, so I'll just listen to what you say, Hiji Machimaru? That's probably not his name, I just don't remember.
You're
That's
just
not to
making
say
it up.
that I don't think that the setting introduced was interesting. It was. The
class.
characters, I think, will
Do you know
grow
what?
on
Me and my
me
girlfriend
as I
have picked Dr.
continue
Stone
reading
back up the
manga,
anime,
But the
and
first arc was nothing to write
we've
home
nearly-
about, sorry.
yeah,
fans. That's it
so
for the
good.
basic
Love it.
stuff. As far as opening arcs that also contain fascinating plot structure, first thing we're gonna knock out of here is Gintama.
Oh, okay.
You know, like
I
one of my
really want to
favorite
get
anime,
into
my favorite
this.
anime
Every
of
time
all
I see
time.
something about this
believe
anime,
it or
it's
not,
like,
the first
whoa.
3 episodes of Gintama were total filler and were bad, and that's why so many people
Oh,
dropped the series,
no.
which is a tragedy. So, just wanted to sing my lamentations for Gintama.
Sorry, fanbase. I cut out his lamentations. They were so bad I thought he was having a stroke while recording. Sincerely, Cord. theater.
Next, JoJo
JoJo.
Part 1.
Ah.
But here's the thing about JoJo.
So good.
Either you love it or you
yeah,
don't
yeah.
love it. I don't know anyone that's
If you
kind
love
of
it,
on
you
the
know
fence
you're on
with it,
board.
not gonna lie. If you watched 100 anime and JoJo's was one of them, it'll either be in your top 10 or bottom 10. And
Yeah.
wise asses that are already typing in the comments, actually it's my 12th favorite anime of all time, just put a cork in it. The first arc, I personally did not love. I thought it was interesting.
Oh
I thought it was better
no,
than
I
most
loved
first
it, man.
arcs
I was
in
like,
anime.
what am I in
The thing about
for?
JoJo's, the way it's broken apart in these parts, each one is a complete story.
Yeah.
So as far as the complete story of part 1, I was not the
Still
massivest
opens
fan
you
on
up to
the
how
planet.
weird
As
it's
far
gonna
as an
be.
introduction to the greater JoJo anime, I thought it did a pretty decent job.
Yeah,
Now,
right.
when I introduce someone to JoJo's, being that part 1 is not always on my mind, I don't say, so it's gonna be about rivalry between a muscly dude
You
shooting
can't
ripples at him
tell
and fingers
someone what
and
it's
fighting
about.
vampire
You just gotta show 'em.
stepbrother, which does not sound very cool. But
No.
it goddamn is.
Yeah, it
Please
is.
watch JoJo's, everyone. Part 5 is going on right now, and it's amazing. But
Part
that
5 was
aside,
class.
I was not enthralled by the first arc. I don't feel like the first arc showed us the best of what the series had to offer. It did not get me hyped to see part 2, but then I saw part 2 anyway, because I'm like a mad lad, and part 2 is one of the greatest anime arcs of all time. But that's,
Part 3 is my favorite.
veering from the point. I feel like part 1 did not do a phenomenal job in getting you into the series, even though by its own merit, it was not bad.
What?
Now, I have no general
No.
order, but I'm at my top 5. At 5 and 4, I have Yu Yu Hakusho and Hunter x Hunter.
Oh,
Two
Hunter x
series,
Hunter.
both written by Togashi, and this guy is a literal genius. Now, the thing about Yu Yu Hakusho and Hunter x Hunter is the reason why I like their first arcs, even though they're systematically and thematically similar as far as Togashi's writing style, I like them for totally different reasons. Yu Yu Hakusho developed the main character. Now, I'm not saying introduced the main character like every single series does, yeah? Story starts, it's like, here's the main character. Congratulations.
Yeah. Whoa,
You've
this is what he's about.
introduced your
Right,
main
okay.
character. But how many develop in the first arc? For the most part, you don't see character development until a few arcs in,
No.
and then you're like, holy flizzard, my Deku
Holy
is growing
flizzard.
up. But Yusuke is an interesting character now he's introduced. Being that he's a dick, God doesn't expect him to jump in the way of a car to save a kid, but he does jump in the way of the car to save a kid and he dies. So God's like, you weren't really supposed
Oh.
to die. It's not according to plan, so we're gonna try to figure out a way to make you undie. Dum, dum, dum. And if that lovely
Oh.
voice is not a reason to subscribe, I don't know what is. Anyway,
forgot.
his character has to go through literal character development if he's planning on coming back.
Oh.
That's kind of the condition he has. That's kind of the reason why he wants to come back as well. He leaves and he sees that all these people that he thought didn't care about him because he was this delinquent putz actually do care about him a great deal, and he got to see a perspective.
I do believe Super
on
iPad Wolf has got a
people's
why you should watch Yu Yu
perspective
Hakusho
of
that I
his
don't think
life,
I've checked
something
out, so I
most
might
people
do
never
that.
get to do, being that most people don't die and then come back. Most people!
Most
you
people.
know who you are. But to make a long story short, he comes
What?
back and now he's being this
What?
spirit detective guy, helping out Mini God take down some demons. Again, we introduce the rest of the cast and we introduce the setting, but we also genuinely develop the main character, which is something that we don't see in the vast majority of opening arcs.
Yes.
Now, Gon from Hunter x Hunter gets zero development
Yeah.
in the first arc of Hunter x
First
Hunter.
arc,
That's
Hunter x
not
Hunter's a
why I
bit-
like it at all. Hunter x Hunter, I would say, ties in this 4th place spot with Naruto, believe it or not. Because the Zabuza arc does a lot of what the Hunter exam does. Now, this is not an order of favorite or best, obviously. I'm just kind of like organizing them in a way to get my points across in the different styles and purposes
I feel like
of what
Hunter x
the
Hunter's first arc does a way
accomplishes
of
narratively.
establishing
Both the Zabuza arc and
characters.
the Hunter exam are microcosms of what the series at whole is. And I shall explain. The way the Zabuza arc is structured is you got ninjas, they're on a mission. The mission ended up worse than expected. They had no choice. They had to go forward. They couldn't go back. They ended up completing the mission. It was
Yes,
very
that's
tough.
alright.
They trained in middle of the mission, walking up trees and stuff.
Yep.
Very important.
Chakra control.
activities. The mission itself honed their skills, but also it showed their passion for one another grow.
Yeah.
Sasuke developed the Sharingan. He pushed past his limits
And Naruto
in a
showed
battle.
his
And when he
beef,
fell,
Nine
Naruto
Tails
pushed past
stuff.
his limits because of the compassion he felt for his friend. Now, this tightened the bond of our main characters. This showed each character push beyond what they seemingly thought they could do, and the ending is bittersweet. There were sad deaths in
There
this
was.
arc,
Zabuza
and there were
and
deaths
Haku
that
at the
will
end,
never
man,
be
was like,
forgotten
oh,
for the
I feel
entirety
sorry for a
of the
bad
arc.
guy.
Even though
Good luck.
Zabuza and Haku don't really impact the actual flow of the
No, they
story,
don't.
I call it a microcosm of the entire series because thematically, that's what the story is. The story is a ninja world where the normal everyday life of ninjas is to go go on these missions. Being that the Naruto story was so plot-focused for the entirety of the series, we never got to see these one-off ninja missions, ever.
That's true,
we got
yeah.
back
After
from the
that,
Zabuza arc, it was one after the other. Chunin exams, search for Tsunade, Sasuke retrieval,
What
filler
about
hell
these-
until
oh.
Shippuden, which was again, rescue Kazekage. The Kazekage
Where are these
had a
missions that
spy,
they followed,
so
yeah.
bridge reconnaissance.
Show us the
Immediately then we had
life
Kakuzu and
of
Hidan.
ninjas.
There was never the time span to have these missions that were the daily life of ninja. The Zabuza arc gave us an
It shows us
understanding in the core lifestyle of what it is
That's
to
fair
be a
enough,
ninja.
yeah.
Things get thrown out of proportion. Your bonds with your friends grow. You need to push past your limits. You gotta have teamwork, and the ending is often bittersweet. This arc gives you a different perspective on the entirety of the Naruto series, and that's why it's one of my favorite opening arcs of all time. Hunter x Hunter does very similar in its regard of the Hunter exam, even though it does so in a completely different fashion. I know we have sick friendships in Hunter x Hunter
Oh, we
and some
do.
bittersweet moments, but that's really not what the story's about. So, the Hunter exam, being a microcosm of the Hunter x Hunter universe, does not play at those strengths. It shows us the unfeelingness of the world, to a large extent. We have these guys that enter this Hunter exam, each one for their own purposes. There's no honor and dignity behind being a ninja to become a hunter. You're putting your life on the line for money, information, fun, whether you're Leorio, Kurapika, Killua, or
They all
anyone
give their
else
own
there.
reasons.
Everyone has their own very personal motivations with absolutely no loyalty to this leaf village that
No,
they
it
will
was the-
die protecting.
yeah.
It's a dog-eat-dog world in the
out
Hunter
there, yep,
exam.
it is.
That's very
My God.
much what the Hunter x Hunter universe is trying to express as well. Hisoka's there for his own maniacal machinations, and his
Yes.
influence in the entire
Oof.
series is done the same way. It's for his own pure enjoyment of the situation, and if ups, it accidentally wound up with me trying to kill a certain character that was pivotal to the plot at that
dear.
moment. Oops, my bad. Hisoka didn't mean it. He's just going around doing whatever the hell he wants. The self-satisfying, remorseless world of Hunter x Hunter is fully encompassed in the versatile unfeelingness of the Hunter exam. Not gonna lie, you can also kind of throw Yu-Gi-Oh! Into this category.
Really?
The Duelist Kingdom arc did a very good job at that as well. It introduced us to characters, the basic power system, being trading cards, and the fact that not everything is as it seems. Yes, on the surface level, Weevil is summoning Great Moth, which is the worst Yu-Gi-Oh! Card of all time and potentially the worst creation in all of Japan.
But-
You have to summon Petite Moth, use Cocoon of Evolution, keep it on the field for
Oh,
5
God.
damn turns. You think this Cocoon is gonna last 5 turns until you contribute
It's ridiculous. How could you even think that?
2600 attacks.
Why even
you can
attempt
use
it?
Bottomless trap pulls.
Ridiculous.
I'm getting ahead
God.
of myself. There's a far more sinister evil going on.
Pegasus.
plans, as well as Bakuras, are taking
Bakura,
place.
man.
And this children's card game is far more than it seems. That said, my second favorite opening arc to any anime ever is Fullmetal Alchemist. And I know what you're thinking.
Alchemist.
You're probably thinking, but Nux, you didn't pronounce it Fullmetal
There we go.
Alchemist. And that's because it's not Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. I think the first arc of the
Oh.
original OG 2003 Fullmetal Alchemist was done better than the 2009
Oh.
Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Really?
Even though, in all, I definitely prefer Brotherhood.
Brotherhood
And anyone
is
that
an overall thing,
prefers
right?
the OG is just an elitist. If I get hate in the comments, then you're just elitist. Such a dick. But I definitely think the beginning of the 2003
I've not watched the original,
Fullmetal Alchemist was
one.
better written and directed. You know the first episode of 2009 Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood? The one with the freezing alchemist?
Yes.
Yeah, that's filler. One of the few filler episodes in the entire series. And
How?
it was felt. The 2003 Fullmetal Alchemist starts off in Lior with the fake priest Father
Oh,
Cornell
wow, straight
and
into
his
it.
fake Philosopher's Stone. Now, this is before we learn about the backstory of Ed and Al. This is before we're ever in Central. The structure of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood starts off with your episode with the Freezing Alchemist to teach you a little bit about the world
Yeah.
in its filler fashion, and then immediately introduces you to the backstory of Ed and Al, which I don't think is a bad move, but I don't think it's nearly as powerful as if we're learning in retrospect from what we're seeing
That's
starting off in
interesting.
Lior.
Okay.
Because the way the series starts, with Alphonse fixing the radio of some guy with alchemy, and we're like, oh, alchemy looks cool. And then we end up with this whole philosophical debate on right and wrong. Yes, the priest is lying to the entire city. He claims to be making miracles when in actuality it's not miracles, it's this fake philosopher's stone he's been using. But in the end of the day, is that a bad thing? He is definitely helping out his city. Well, Ed thinks it's a bad thing. Whether he's right or wrong, that's up for you to decide, and that's why I find philosophy so interesting. You get into an interesting philosophical debate. You don't understand the exact motives of Ed, why he's looking for a philosopher's stone or anything. He also doesn't win by pure brute force. Even though, yes, chimeras attack him and bite his arm and leg, and it's like, what? An automale arm? That's impossible! No one's ever
Wow,
had an
Chimera's
automale
introduced
arm
that
before!
early as well.
Which is basically what every single villain says to him at one point or another. You must be the Fullmetal Alchemist. Actually, it's my brother. That little guy? Who are you calling little? Yeah, we get the drill. But also, Ed doesn't beat Father Cornello with brute force. He ends up leaking their conversation over loudspeakers to the entire city.
Isn't that what they
so
do
the
on
city
Brotherhood,
themselves
though?
hear that he is the
So it's the
fraud
same.
that he is. Only then does Ed confront him. So I personally prefer the beginning of the 2003 Fullmetal Alchemist. The arc in itself definitely introduces the characters, definitely introduces the power system, and also gives you a very interesting arc altogether, aside from just introductions. It's not a microcosm of what the series is, because the series evolves so much from this
interesting.
point, as opposed to just recycling themes, even though, of course, themes were reused, and I say that in a good way. Recurring themes are fascinating, and the fact that they rear their heads in different situations. Now, if you think I'm wrong in my choice of what I believe is the greatest opening arc to Shonen, feel free to let me know in the comments, and I'm curious to hear your take on it. Because while this is my favorite, it's not the objective best, obviously. As a mere human, I cannot do that.
Everyone
But
has their
low-key,
own
the real
opinion and
reason why I
thoughts
wanted
on
to
these
make this video
things.
was because I wanted to credit this opening arc to this specific shonen as much as I possibly could. Yes, it's the T-Series versus PewDiePie shonen anime. Its tragic ending seems to be approaching
Oh
rapidly.
my
Subscribe to
God,
PewDiePie,
really?
goddammit. Okay, fine. We all know that's saying it. But my favorite opening arc to shonen anime, and what I believe to be the best opening
Promised
arc to shonen anime,
Neverland.
is the Promised Neverland.
It's so
currently airing anime where the
good.
first arc is nearly
The first season was
there
so
are so many
good.
great things
I
would
cannot
like to
wait
say
for the
about
second
Grace
season
Field
next
arc,
year.
And unfortunately, some of them would involve major humongous.
Next year's gonna be so
I read
good.
the manga, and I am currently up to date. I am enjoying reading it every week, and unlike many other anime, especially shonens, Promised Neverland is vastly mystery-focused. I would
It
say
does
that
such a
Attack
good
on
job in,
Titan
like,
is also
setting up the
mystery-focused, at least
world.
until a certain point in the manga where everything was answered, and then it just became a whole geopolitical situation. But you generally don't have mystery-focused shonen anime, especially long-running. Within the last 3 chapters alone, and I'm talking chapter 120, where the anime right now is at like chapter 30 or 35. And we're
Alright.
still getting answers to massive questions, feeding us entire new information that helps us look at the entire world
Cool.
in an entirely different
can't wait for season
philosophical
2,
light.
man.
Yes, this was 2 chapters ago, and it's been like this throughout, dropping bombs of information regarding various factions that I would have never even given a second thought to. A series built on mystery always gets my dick hard. That aside,
Yeah.
when the mystery is executed as flawlessly as Promised Neverland is, well, that just gets even more fun, doesn't it?
Oh.
At this point, we literally know nothing. Even by the end of the first arc, where we know as much as we think there is to know, and then there's just so much more. The
There's still
world just
questions.
expands.
There's
Damn
always
it. Everything
questions,
you think
man.
you know about the Promised Neverland, spoilers, you're wrong. It's cooler. So, even
Cool.
though there's a
Oh,
massive
man.
climax at the end of the first arc, and even though I love massive climaxes, for I have done so while reading the first arc. Imagine if the massive climax of the story you are used to just manages to introduce a new plot point that makes the next climax 10 times larger. Now, obviously,
mate.
anime and any form of media for that matter, they're supposed to be progressively getting more interesting to keep you, interested. If the story is getting progressively worse, slower, and more redundant, bleach, then obviously it's not going
mate,
to retain
yeah,
the
you
fan
can't really-
base
ugh.
fire that it had originally. You don't have to worry about, oh, the Promised Neverland gave us all it had to offer in the first arc. Oh well, no, don't worry, it keeps getting more interesting. Even
Cool.
though at this point, the first arc of the series and the current arc of the series are my 2 favorites, it definitely remains pretty damn hype. As far as introducing the characters too, damn, you just don't have this kind of character anywhere. Our main trio of Emma, Norman, and Ray are such a fantastically interesting trio.
They really
it
are.
helps you understand what the whole anime is going to be founded on.
They
It's not
interact
just
differently as well. When one
character
person's not there,
traits
it's
and
different. Like, when
gimmicks
they're
that
all there,
you're
it's
learning about these characters getting introduced to them. You understand that Emma is purely idealistic in her approach to life, while her counterpart would be Ray in that he is completely realistic in his understanding
Like, look,
of life.
this is how it
so
has to
Ray
be.
will say, I think the 3 of us should escape, we have the best chances, and Emma will say, no,
everybody goes with us.
You
Yep.
have that conflict between realism and idealism, and you have Norman in between, who as headstrong as he is, he has a trusting optimism. All 3 of these characters are sharp as tacks. They all all outsmart each other many times. They outsmart other characters.
Yes.
There are these psychological discussions that go on within their own minds in regards to how to treat everyone else. The three main characters have completely different philosophies in how they want to escape from Gracefield. This is below the surface, and on the surface level, every single one of them tells a different story.
Oh, we're gonna team up, we're gonna really do it right. We're not gonna tell Emma that we're not really gonna save anyone, and Norman's like, yeah, totally.
In the meantime, Norman's lying out of his ass
Yeah.
to everyone, and, that's how the world goes. Three characters that all want to make the right decisions in the same situation under different circumstances with different ideologies, and I can't think of a stronger foundation for a main cast than these three. Now, the world introduces you to tragedy as well, which is very important because, as far as an opening arc, you don't feel tragedy. Almost ever, I'd say. I mean, Haku and Zabuza dying in Naruto was very sad, but it wouldn't be tragedy per se. It didn't feel like anything crucial was lost. They just were
the story did
characters
carry
introduced
on.
in this arc that don't play a role in the future. Imagine if that wasn't the case for Promised Neverland. For those of you who don't know the premise, I would love to tell you, but instead I suggest you just watch the first episode. You'll get the premise, okay? You'll get it in spades. It is every emotional.
And that's quite
note
clever.
that it
With just the
aims for,
first
and it
episode, you
hits it
just
with
know straight away.
precision.
Whoa.
The moment the characters you're following finds out this tragedy that's befalling their universe,
Oh my
it's the same time as you
God.
are. It's not
Yeah.
like the story needs to forcibly inject the setting
We as an
into
audience
your
learn
bloodstream
as
because
the characters
it's
learn.
injected into you at the same time as it's injected naturally into the main characters. Again, it's hard to talk about the first arc of Promised Neverland, spoiling the
Yeah.
first arc of Promised Neverland, and general rule, if it's spoilable, it's good. And if the first arc is
That's
not spoilable,
true.
that's
That's
just out of this world.
that's a
In
hell of a
case all this
statement.
praise wasn't enough, I recommend watching The Promised Neverland and letting me know in the comments what you think of it after you check it out. I felt like making this video, mostly because I wanted to talk about The Promised Neverland, not gonna lie, and recommend it to you guys.
So good.
But aside from that, I thought it would be an interesting series to just take a broad stroke of all the opening arcs of shounen. But Nux, you didn't talk about fairy tale. I know, but plug it into the formula. Did it have a fascinating inter-arc plot? No. Did it introduce the characters? Yes. So then it falls in the generic category. I think Promised Neverland hands down wins. I'm curious to hear in the comments your take on what would win. I apologize that this isn't my normal satire and it is not my normal analysis type video. It's just a more fun thing to exist on the tube of you. Let me know if you want more, because writing this script was legit the easiest script I've written in a long time. Usually it takes a lot more thinking. So if you enjoyed, I'm happy to provide. Definitely check out my other stuff. Link to my Twitter in the description. Feel free to follow me there. Subscribe to me here. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Pick up some merch if you're interested. And feel free to sign up to my Patreon. All patrons are extremely appreciated. And unfortunately, my internet is down now, so I cannot read the list of patrons, which I've not been very good about doing. But hey, I figured I'd pick it back up, and then my internet died, and it's sad. So I can't send this audio to an editor right while I'm recording it. Hopefully tomorrow, internet will be back. Have yourselves the most wonderful evening. And remember, watch Promised Neverland.
The old outro. Ah. Oh, mate. The old outro. That was a good video. I like it. Promised Neverland is definitely a really good example of an amazing opening arc. Sets everything up for you. It does a lot within the first episode as well, which is like, whoa. It's just super intriguing. That was a really good look at all the opening stuff. Didn't agree with his JoJo's Bizarre Adventures talk there, but whatever. We all have our own opinions and we should not get mad with each other. Grrr. But yeah, I'm going to check out some more old, well, I say old, they came out this year, videos from Nux that I missed, that I find are going to be quite intriguing. And yeah, until then, thank you guys very much for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what you're watching and discussing future videos. And I'll see you guys next time.